Have you noticed how often strength is confused with being the loudest voice in the room? Have you felt moments where control is mistaken for confidence, even when it feels brittle underneath? Do you ever observe how dominance demands constant effort while real presence seems to rest naturally? Have you sensed that some displays of power feel more like tension than stability? Do you notice how the need to assert oneself often grows strongest when certainty is weakest? And have you wondered why quiet men can feel grounded and secure without needing to take up space? Dominance is often adopted as a shortcut to masculinity because it is visible, immediate, and easily recognized. But masculinity, in its truest form, doesn't rely on force or assertion. It expresses itself through restraint, steadiness, and the capacity to remain composed without needing to overpower anything or anyone. Many men notice a quiet confusion around strength. Not confusion in words, but in feeling. A sense that something solid has been replaced by something loud. That being firm is often mistaken for being forceful. That control is confused with control over others rather than over oneself. In everyday moments, dominance is praised as confidence. Volume is mistaken for certainty. Urgency passes as leadership. And restraint is often overlooked, or worse, seen as weakness. Yet beneath this, many men feel the mismatch. They feel that what looks powerful does not always feel stable. That something essential about masculinity has been blurred. Not lost, but misread, and this misunderstanding quietly shapes how men carry themselves, even when no one is watching. Dominance, at its core, is about imposing will. It is outward-facing. It seeks response, reaction, acknowledgement. It relies on friction to feel real. Masculinity, in its deeper sense, does not depend on friction. It is not proven through pressure. It is not sustained by being seen. This is where the misunderstanding begins. Dominance is visible. Masculinity is often quiet. When dominance is mistaken for masculinity, strength becomes performative. Attention replaces direction. Intensity replaces clarity. The inner world becomes secondary to how one appears. Many men feel this tension internally. They may notice moments where they act quickly, assertively, even aggressively, not because the moment requires it, but because stillness feels exposed, because silence offers no confirmation. Dominance offers a shortcut to certainty. It creates the feeling of control without requiring internal order. It bypasses reflection. It rewards immediacy. Masculinity, however, is built slowly. It is shaped by the ability to hold desire without acting on it, to endure uncertainty without filling it with noise, to choose direction over reaction. Where dominance pushes outward, masculinity gathers inward. Where dominance demands, masculinity decides. Where dominance reacts, masculinity remains. This does not make masculinity passive. It makes it selective. A man grounded in himself does not need to assert constantly. His presence does not depend on winning moments. His authority is not borrowed from comparison. This kind of strength can feel unfamiliar because it does not announce itself. It is not dramatic. It does not escalate. And because it does not seek validation, it is often misunderstood. In environments that reward dominance, restraint can look invisible, but invisibility is not absence. It is depth without display. When masculinity is confused with dominance, identity becomes unstable. A man begins to measure himself by how often he asserts, how strongly he reacts, how visibly he occupies space. Over time, this creates exhaustion. Because dominance requires constant reinforcement, it must be renewed again and again. It cannot rest. Masculinity rooted in self-mastery does not carry this weight. It is not threatened by silence. It is not rushed by impulse. It does not need to prove itself repeatedly. Many men notice a shift when they stop confusing the two. They find that their energy becomes more focused. Their decisions slow down without losing firmness. Their sense of self becomes less dependent on external response. This is not a change in behavior as much as a change in center. Attention moves inward. Discipline becomes quieter. Desire becomes something observed, not obeyed. In this space, masculinity feels less like tension and more like alignment, less like holding ground and more like knowing where to stand. Dominance seeks to shape the environment. Masculinity shapes the self. And when the self is shaped, the environment responds naturally, not through force, but through consistency, not through pressure, but through presence. This distinction matters because it changes how a man experiences his own life. Moments become less reactive, choices become less fragmented, direction emerges not from urgency, but from clarity. Dominance will always be visible, it will always be loud enough to attract attention. But masculinity does not compete for visibility, it exists in restraint, in the ability to pause without collapsing, in the capacity to remain steady without becoming rigid. When masculinity is no longer mistaken for dominance, strength stops being something to perform and becomes something to inhabit. There is no need to reject dominance entirely. It has its place, but it is not the foundation. The foundation is inner order, a quiet firmness that does not rush to prove itself, a stability that holds even when unobserved. And in that stillness, many men recognize something familiar, not something learned, but something remembered.